From the time of Egypt until now, Moses has been with the people of Israel. There's been some events in which he was not involved directly, and some shenanigans have ensued that way. But generally, he has been around the people of Israel and able to correct them and lead them to prevent them from going down the path to destruction. And when they went down the path of destruction, he was able to plead with the Lord for mercy so that they would not be destroyed. But he's not going into the promised land with them. So he has to prepare them so they don't make those kinds of mistakes anymore, not having someone to intercede on their behalf. And the people that are in the land of Canaan are the enemies of the Israelites. And they are incredibly wicked before the eyes of the Lord, and the things they do are evil. Deuteronomy 12:1. These are the statutes and ordinances which you shall be watchful to do in the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, gives you to possess all the days you live on the earth. Israel is going to be entering into a hostile area filled with many enemies, and the rules of engagement are going to be discussed here on how they are to deal with these people. Deuteronomy 12:2. You shall surely destroy all the places where the nations you dispossess served their gods, upon the high mountains and the hills, and under every green tree. Earlier in the book of Deuteronomy, we looked at the 10 Commandments, and I think one of them pertains to the events that we are seeing here, or will see transpire shortly. I'll just read a little bit from the beginning. I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image. So when they get to the promised land, they are to destroy all the gods of the inhabitants, all the gods of the Canaanites. And we have the different locations and everything where they do their worship, and they're to go there and they are to destroy all these things. And we have some of the common locations that people would do their worship in. The high places. People would build altars on the tops of mountains. They would also build them on the tops of hills. For the higher you are up, the closer you are to the heavens. It looks like there was also some that were placed underneath great trees. This was a great temptation to the Israelites, that they would fall into the snare of following these false gods. So they needed to be destroyed, beyond the fact that they were against the Lord God as well. Oftentimes when we read this, we have a hard time perceiving these events and truly understanding the nuances of that time. I suspect that the people thought they were worshiping one thing, but in fact it was demons or fallen angels that they were worshiping. And they had elements of power that they could do things so that it would reaffirm their belief. And they got them to do things that God hated because they themselves hate God. God created life so people could live. And these people would kill their children and sacrifice them on altars. It's hard to imagine why people would do that unless it was an outside force encouraging that behavior. Although the depravity of man is pretty hardcore. This type of behavior still goes on today, and it is as evil now as it was back then. Deuteronomy 12:3. You shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and burn their Asherim with fire. You shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and destroy their names out of that place. The people of Canaan are very religious, and there is a lot of this stuff, a lot of these idols and things. And Israel is going to have to destroy it all, to purge it from the land, to cleanse the land of it. Deuteronomy 12:4. You shall not behave so towards the Lord your God. The Lord does not want to be worshipped in the same way that the people are worshiping these deities. He doesn't want to be worshipped up on the high mountains or the high places, having altars carved out there for him, or under a tree. And even the method in which they worship, it cannot be the same. The Lord has outlined the method that he wants to be worshipped previously. When you look at the tabernacle, the different offerings, the sacrifices, there's a definite way that he wants to be worshipped, and it is nothing like what these Canaanites are doing, or the other nations around them. God is different than them. He is the true living God. Deuteronomy 12:5. But you shall seek the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes, to put his name and make his dwelling place, and there shall you come. God has a particular way in which he wants to be worshipped, so people can't just make altars all over the place and decide on things that way. He has a system. We have the tabernacle. They need to go to the tabernacle. They need to bring their offerings, and then the priest will look after the different offerings, and that's how they do the worship of the Lord. So it is very different than what the Canaanites are doing. And God has it all figured out. Deuteronomy 12:6. And there you shall bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithe, and the offering of your hands, and your vows, and your freewill offerings, and the firstling of your herd, and of your flock. 12:7. And there you shall eat before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice in all to which you put your hand, you and your households, in which the Lord your God has blessed you. So the tabernacle is still going to be a very big part of things. And they're going to do their different types of offerings there. People are going to worship and pray to the Lord there. It's just going to be an all-around great and glorious thing. Deuteronomy 12:8. You shall not do according to all we do here in the camp this day, every man doing whatever looks right in his own eyes. During the wilderness wandering phase, there was a lack of stability, and this caused a number of different types of problems. And it may have interfered with the proper functionality of the tabernacle at times. But now that they are entering into the promised land and are going to have more stability and maybe even permanent dwellings, that the rules are going to have to be followed a little bit more strictly now, and no longer be based upon what is best in the eyes of each person, but have an actual official declaration on what needs to be done and when. Deuteronomy 12:9. For you have not yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which the Lord your God gives you. 12:10. But when you go over the Jordan and dwell in the land which the Lord your God causes you to inherit, and he gives you rest from all your enemies round about, so that you dwell in safety. With the added safety of having permanent dwellings and not being surrounded by enemies while on the move in another man's country, they're going to be able to follow more of the rules that the Lord laid out for them. And this is a good thing. 12:11. Then there shall be a place which the Lord your God shall choose to cause his name and his presence to dwell there. To it you shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, and what the hand presents as a first gift from the fruits of the ground, and all your choicest offerings which you vow to the Lord. So the tabernacle was a temporary structure that the Lord was dwelling in. It was very portable, and it served its purpose during the wilderness wandering phase. But eventually we're going to see something more. We're going to see the creation of the temple. Well, actually, there's a couple different temples that we'll see, but And of course, once the temple is created, then the people are going to be bringing their offerings there, because the tabernacle is basically retired at that point. Deuteronomy 12:12. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your sons and your daughters and your manservants and your maidservants and the Levite that is within your towns, since he has no part or inheritance with you. We are quite a ways off from the creation of the temple, but when the temple is created, it is a huge celebration. But what we're looking at here may just be looking at the idea of going before the Lord to make offerings and kind of having that fellowship or communion with him, and how glorious and how exciting that is as well. Deuteronomy 12:13. Be watchful not to offer your burnt offerings in every place you see. 12:14. But in the place which the Lord shall choose in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all I command you. So ultimately, God can decide where the people are to do their burnt offerings. Maybe there's occasions where they are done outside of the tabernacle, or maybe it's the tabernacle is moved to a particular location. Or maybe this is after the temple is created, and maybe there's an occasion where they're having some burnt offerings in a different location. Whatever it may be, the Lord can decide this, and he can get the message out to inform the people of what the plan is. It makes sense that there's some degree of flexibility in this. Deuteronomy 12:15. However, you may kill and eat flesh in any of your towns, whenever you desire, according to the provision for the support of life, with which the Lord your God has blessed you. Those ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat of it, as of the gazelle and the hart. Things are going to change once they're in the land, and they're more spread out, and they're no longer concentrated upon a single point, concentrated around the tabernacle. Previously, there was restrictions on the slaying of these animals for the purposes of consumption, that they had to be brought to the tabernacle to be slayed. But with the logistics of being spread out throughout the land, that would be very difficult to accomplish. So they have permission now to kill the animals in their own towns for the purpose of consuming the meat. As for the people who are able to participate in the consumption of this meat, both the clean and the unclean. So if somebody does something or has a condition and they're ceremonially unclean, they're still able to participate in the consumption of the meat. The two animals that we see mentioned here, the gazelle is a type of small antelope, and it fits the description of a clean animal, as well as the hart, which is a type of deer, and it is also a clean animal. So the animals that they consume still have to be clean. They have to be kosher animals. Deuteronomy 12:16. Only you shall not eat the blood. You shall pour it upon the ground as water. The Israelites are forbidden from consuming the blood of the animals. As a result, they need to drain the blood of the animals before they can consume the animals. Deuteronomy 12:17. You may not eat within your towns the tithe of your grain, or of your new wine, or of your oil, or the firstling of your herd or flock, or anything you have vowed, or your freewill offerings, or the offerings from your hand of garden products. 12:18. But you shall eat them before the Lord your God, in the place which the Lord your God shall choose, you and your son and your daughter, your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite that is within your towns. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, in all that you undertake. So it's almost like a form of taxation in that the Lord is taking a portion of the increase. So they plant and the stuff grows, and then at the end they harvest, and the first things to come off are the first fruits, and a portion of that belongs to the Lord. Now when it comes to animals, the firstborn male animal belongs to the Lord. Now they're going to have the option. They can pay money to have that animal back and pay money instead of giving away the animal. This one here applies to people as well, that the firstborn male child belongs to the Lord, and they can pay a set amount of money and redeem the child to have it continue on in their family or whatever. So there's the firstborn and there's the first fruit. And what we are seeing here in this particular verse is the idea that they're not allowed to just go and consume these things, that they need to be brought to the central location. So later on that'll be the temple, but for now it's going to be the tabernacle. So they're going to be able to go there and make their sacrifices, make their offerings, give their portion to the Lord. And if there's something that they get to consume out of it, then they can do that while they're there. So we have a central point of worship and a central point to make these offerings. And a lot of these offerings, they're given to the Lord, and then the Levites take possession of them. Then the Levites take the best of whatever they receive, and then they give that to the sons of Aaron, to the hereditary priesthood. Deuteronomy 12:19. Take heed not to forsake or neglect the Levite, God's minister, as long as you live in your land. So the Levites didn't receive the same inheritance as the rest of Israel. They inherited several cities as well as the cities of refuge, and maybe they were spread out a little bit more, but not having the same type of farmland or pastures as the rest of the tribes of Israel. And their position in the tribe is a little bit different because they are the priestly tribe. They are in charge of looking after the tabernacle at this juncture in time, and later on it'll be the temple. As such, they are to be looked after by the rest of the tribes of Israel, that they are to provide for them a number of things. Deuteronomy 12:20. When the Lord your God enlarges your territory as he promised you, and you say, I will eat flesh, because you crave flesh, you may eat flesh whenever you desire. 12:21. If the place where the Lord your God has chosen to put his name and presence is too far from you, then you shall kill from your herd or flock, which the Lord has given you, as I, Moses, have commanded you. Eat in your towns as much as you desire. Previously in this chapter, we saw descriptions of some of the wild game that was considered clean, that they would be able to consume. These animals would not be fit for sacrifice because they were not domestically raised. And now we're looking at some of the animals that are domestically raised, that they have permission to slaughter them and eat them as well out at their homes or towns that are away from the centralized location of worship. Because the territory got so big, it was very inconvenient and they needed to eat to survive. Deuteronomy 12:22. Just as the roebuck and the hart is eaten, so you may eat of it, but not offer it. The unclean and the clean alike may eat of it. 12:23. Only be sure that you do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life, and you may not eat the life with the flesh. 12:24. You shall not eat it, you shall pour it out on the earth like water. 12:25. You shall not eat it, that all may go well with you, and with your children after you, when you do what is right in the sight of the Lord. The people of Israel, they probably were very accustomed to the way things were during the wilderness wandering and how the tabernacle worked and everything. But now that they are going to be more spread out and over a larger degree of territory. It makes some things inconvenient. And Moses here is stressing some of the important points as far as the consumption of the meat goes, and just how important it is not to drink the blood, and how the rest of this is permissible. They're allowed to slaughter their own meat, drain the blood of it, and consume it. Both the clean and the unclean are able to participate in this as well. So this is a great thing. This is a high level of freedom for the Israelites. Deuteronomy 12:26. Only your holy things which you have to offer, and what you have vowed you shall take, and go to the place before the sanctuary which the Lord shall choose. 12:27. And offer your burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, upon the altar of the Lord your God. And the blood of your sacrifices shall be poured out on the altar of the Lord your God, and you may eat the flesh. So they are able to eat meat for the consumption, but when it comes to making sacrifices or offerings to the Lord, they still need to follow the rules. They need to bring the animals to the sanctuary, be it the tabernacle or later on the temple, and there they will look after these things. And they need to be done in the way and the manner that they were prescribed previously in Leviticus, when it explained how these different sacrifices and offerings were to be done and fulfilled. Given to the Lord in the way and in the manner that the Lord prescribed for them to be given. Deuteronomy 12:28. Be watchful and obey all these words which I commanded you, that it may go well with you and with your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God. Moses is deeply concerned with the people of Israel. As it is right now, they're all around the tabernacle and he is able to kind of oversee things. But when he's no longer alive and the people of Israel are spread out, they're not going to be as tightly knit. And so there is a risk, or there is a chance of them not being obedient to the Lord. So he is worried about that and the type of suffering that will follow if they are not obedient to the Lord. So that's why he is stressing it so much here. He has stressed this several times now here in the book of Deuteronomy, for them to be obedient and follow the commandments of the Lord. Deuteronomy 12:29. When the Lord your God cuts off before you the nations whom you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and live in their land. 12:30. Be watchful that you are not ensnared into following them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? We will do likewise. We started off this chapter looking at the idea of destroying the idols of the locals, of the Canaanites. And Moses here is stressing the importance of not following what the Canaanites were doing, but follow the Lord God and not be ensnared by the idolatry of the Canaanites. And we see here the risk associated with the curiosity of questioning how the Canaanites did what they were doing, inquiring, learning about it. But learning about it and finding out how they were doing their things will only lead them down the path of trying it out themselves. And the result of that will be destruction, in the same way that the Canaanites will be destroyed or dispossessed by the Israelites when they go in to take the land. A playing with fire moment. Deuteronomy 12:31. You shall not do so to the Lord your God, for every abominable thing which the Lord hates they have done for their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burned in the fire to their gods. It's probably hard to convey just how wicked these people were But child sacrifice is one of the things they were doing. And that is a really bad, horrible thing. And God does not want his people to be doing things like that, among all the other evils that these people were doing. Deuteronomy 12:32. Whatever I commanded you, be watchful to do it. You shall not add to it or diminish it. These rules here are to be followed, and they are to be followed to the letter. And Moses doesn't want them, or the Lord doesn't want them, to add or take away from these things. Because if you take things away or you add things to it, it's going to lead to corruption, and it is going to lead to destruction. And that's an unpleasant thing.